this is YPF, the state-owned oil company of Argentina, and it's clearly breaking out. I mean, you can see that line right there from the, I guess, the 2024 high, and we're taking out. Now, oil prices are up, so we ought to. But my suspicion is this is a name that is not on people's radar screens. People have not pulled it off the shelf like they have Schlumberger, SLB, and Exxon. And I'm just intrigued. And I don't know, Bob, if you have any thoughts here, but that's clearly a stock breaking out of multi-year highs. And I think there might be a reform deregulation story in Argentina that's also impacting the state-owned oil company. I'm kind of ambushing you here, but any thoughts here?
Yeah, I need to go back and take a look at it. We've mentioned that before on your chart. I know in the past it's popped up as something interesting, and it's not one I've had on my radar screen just because for my screening it doesn't pay a big dividend. But clearly there's a benefit from the oil price here, and in a name that's probably overlooked by a lot. So I'll go back and take a look at it. But that chart is impressive on the name here, but I haven't dug deep into it to look at the fundamentals other than it is leveraged to the oil price here. So
and my guess is I probably mentioned around here when this first breakout at 40, but that's okay. A breakout is a breakout, and the buying pressure is pretty intense. And Bob, let me ask you this, but while I have you here, what would make you sell the oil and gas names or any oil and gas name? What's the trigger that says, okay, we've had enough here, I'm gone?
I mean, it would take a lot. It would take a situation where we know there's a clear path to oil prices retreating pretty significantly. And that scenario is nowhere near at hand, in my opinion. But you'd have a situation where, the current administration's dream scenario of Iran says, okay, come in, take all of our enriched uranium. We'll never enrich again. We're not going to have a nuclear bomb in. By the way, we're backing off of the Strait of Hormuz, and there can be a coalition that controls it, not us. And oil starts flowing, and all of a sudden there's just extreme peace, which I don't see the case anytime soon. But I think to sell these names, I'd have to make a case that oil is going to pull back to $70, $60 a barrel, which I just don't see a scenario for that anytime soon.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not selling anything here. I don't know if you want to jump into it, or David, if you want to continue with some questions or things.
No. I think it's a great segue into what should we be doing. I mean, I know overnight we threw a couple more missiles here and there, and they did the same. Is it breaking down and we're going to go back above 100, or is it?
Well, there's a lot of uncertainty as to what's going on here. It's not clear to anybody who's in charge in Iran, who's calling the shots, and who the U.S. is supposedly negotiating with. And that on the one hand, you'll hear Trump say, we're very close to a deal, we're very close to a deal. And then the rumors and reports, even though the White House won't release any details on what the supposed deal is, you'll hear rumors that, Iran's going to give up their right to enrich uranium, and they're going to open up the Strait of Hormuz. And then you get last night, one of these Iranian officials posting on X that the red lines are control of the Strait of Hormuz, their right to enrich uranium and keep their enriched uranium. So they're polar opposites as to what one side is saying versus the other. And I think part of what is definitely going on is there are different factions within Iran trying to grab the upper hand as to who's calling the shots and who's in charge there. And I think there probably is one faction that's wanting to negotiate a deal that may be more along the lines of what the administration has been sort of indicating or flagging. And then there's another faction that's out there just taking the other extreme, saying, no, we're going to throw up that we're not going to do anything, give up anything. And we want to retain our right to nuclear enrichment. We want to retain our control over the Strait of Hormuz. And we have yet to see any deal come out. And it's interesting because there was a point more than a week ago that Trump had continued to indicate, look, if there's no deal at hand within, this time period, then the bombs will fly. Well, we passed those time periods and no bombs have flown, and he continues to say that we're very close to a deal. So we'll see what happens here. I don't think this is an easy solution. I think if anything, what they're heading toward is negotiating an MOU, or memorandum of understanding of what's going to happen, And then let's take another 30, 60 days to actually negotiate the details of what we think we're going to agree to here as to what the situation or deal is going to be.
Hi, I'm David Maris. If you like what you just heard, we've tracked every single pick we make on the show, every ticker, every thesis, every entry price, over 1,100 picks and counting. We put it together in a free report with our top 10 performers, the reasoning behind each one, and a preview of our full dashboard. If you want access, the link is in the description.